Where is Nakuru County? I hope there is nobody here from Kisii, because by the time I go to Kisii, it's going to be a lot of trouble. Thank you very much. I kindly ask the chair, our chief guest and the chair of the Council of Governors, if you can come forward and give them their awards. We are starting with number 3, and that is Kitui County. Thank you very much, Kitui. Please keep up the good work. Then we go to number 2, and I would want to ask our Chair Emeritus. It's only fair that you are standing next to your people. Chair Emeritus. Fair is fair. I'll give you time to come, stand next to them, and be part of this pride. On this side, please. Yeah, on that side, yeah. Oh no, on that side. These are the winners. You are number 2. Chair, I will ask you to go to the other side, please. Chief guest, please go to the other side. Go to the other side, yeah. No, yeah. Mama hapo mpigwe picha. Najua gavana ataiweka kwa ofisi yake. Congratulations, Kakamega. You have a good governor and a good county. Now, thank you very much. Those who have won, please, you can leave so that the glory goes to the winner. Now, the best booth, number 1, Nakuru County. Tuwapigie makofi. Nakuru County. Asante sana, Mungu awabariki. Thank you very much. And please, let's keep up in the next Devolution Conference. Let's do better than that. I thank you, my Chair Emeritus. You can go back. And anybody, and the 2 of you from Nakuru, if you can go back now, please. I will ask the Ministry of Devolution if there is any representation. Otherwise, I would ask Senator Dr. Alice Miligo, MP, to come here, and Judy Oduma, please, if the 2 of you are here in the room. I would be happy if the 2 ladies, one can be on the left and the other one on my right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, when we go to conferences like this one, we must have a testimony of that conference. And for us here, we passed a number of resolutions. As you recall, when we started, I read the resolutions for Kirinyaga, and we are hoping that this resolution, since we are going to have a biennial conference, by the time that we are getting to the next place that we are going to go, we, as county governments and as national government and as development partners and as stakeholders in the whole area of climate management, that we would have implemented the resolutions that are going to come out of this communique. So you will allow me, and if you can see the 2 organizations next to me, I have the county assemblies, who make the laws at the county level, and have the Senate that makes the final laws for devolution at the national level. So allow me to read the communique of this conference. The 7th and final annual Devolution Conference was convened jointly by the Council of Governors, the Senate, the Ministry of Devolution, and the County Assemblies Forum, and was held between 23rd and 26th of November 2021 at Makueni Boys High School in Wote, Makueni County. The conference made the following resolutions in line with the conference theme, Mid-Level Governance for Climate Action, and sub-theme, Subnational Mobilization in Unlocking the Full Potential of Climate Action during and after the pandemic, to guide the national governments and county governments in combating climate change. That the national government and county governments, hereinafter referred to both levels of governments, strongly affirm the need to conserve our environment and natural resources for the current and future generations. That both levels of government shall, in the spirit of cooperation, coordination, consultation, and collaboration, design and implement practical policies, strategies, laws, regulations, and action plans to address climate change. Both levels of government shall strengthen structured intergovernmental consultations and ensure effective joint efforts and programming on resilient food systems. Action would be taken by national government, county governments, parliament, development partners, and the County Assemblies Forum. That both levels of government shall, in the next budgeting cycle, increase resource allocation towards mitigation and adaptation strategies to enhance county government's preparedness and a response towards the impacts of climate change and pandemics. Both levels of government shall build on the robust public finance management legal framework to ring-fence public funds for climate change action, ensure more equitable distribution of resources for climate action, and timely availability of the funds to county governments and other institutions involved in climate action. The action shall be taken by county governments, National Treasury, Parliament, Commission for Revenue Allocation, Office of the Controller of Budget, and development partners. That all county governments shall, in the next 1 year, enact climate change-related acts, policies, regulations to provide legal frameworks for rolling out climate change-related programs and projects and participate in public-private partnerships for climate change-related projects. Action, county governments, and county governments are executive and county assemblies. That the national government shall, in the next 6 months, redesign the national security strategies that facilitate national and subnational coordination in handling climate change-related instigated conflicts. Action, Ministry of Interior and coordination of national government, county governments, parliament, and national police. That both levels of government shall strengthen agricultural extension services, including expanding public extension funding, encouraging adoption of farmer and private sector-led extension services, and ensuring access to climate and market information for informed farmer decision-making and adoption of localized climate-smart technologies, paying attention to the vulnerabilities of women, persons with disabilities, and marginalized communities. Action, the county governments, National Treasury, Ministry of Agriculture, development partners, and community leaders. That county governments shall design and implement public-private partnerships in a manner that can create conducive ecosystems for digital opportunities to enhance the farmer access to information, market opportunities, and innovate for solutions of future anticipated challenges in the agricultural sector that are gender responsive and inclusive. Action, county governments, National Treasury, Ministry of Agriculture, development partners, and community leaders. That county governments shall use their respective regional economic blocks to achieve climate change commitments and enhance climate action. Action, county governments, county regional economic blocks. That both levels of government should develop a clear government strategy to reduce the cost of agricultural input, promote efficient land use tenure, and strengthen food security monitoring and reporting, and respond to the barriers and gaps that prevent women from effectively participating in sustainable agriculture emanating from equal land system ownership and use. Action, county governments, National Treasury, Ministry of Agriculture and Development partners. That county government shall work with development partners, the private sector, and civil society organizations to strengthen and create multi-hazard early warning systems and enhance joint participatory scenario planning on disaster management. Action, county governments, development partners, private sector, and civil society organizations. That both levels of government shall promote and increase transparency and accountability at all levels and ensure that there is fair participation of all stakeholders, including the marginalized groups, persons with disabilities, women, youth, and minorities in the development, implementation, and evaluation of policies to ensure their needs, experiences, and aspirations are incorporated in the mitigation strategies for climate change. Action, county governments, Parliament, and County Assemblies Forum. That there is a need to encourage and nurture honest dialogue on climate change in the political discourse in the country. The conference urges political parties to include issues of adaptation and mitigation to climate change in their party and election manifestos. Action, political parties, elected leaders. That county governments are encouraged to partner with the Maarifa Center for information sharing, capacity building, documentation, and peer learning on transformative and innovative county models addressing climate change that have worked to accelerate their adoption by other counties. Action, Council of Governors, county governments, and Ministry of Devolution. That county government shall in the next 1 year fast-track the passage of the county tourism laws to support counties to develop a legal framework for counties to take charge of museums, historical and cultural tourist attraction sites. Action, county government, county assemblies forum, Parliament, Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. That county governments to diversify tourism attractions, promote and encourage domestic tourism, build unique tourism brand identity that can incentivize county tourism, and integrate local communities in tourism and wildlife conservation efforts. Action, county governments, county assemblies forum, and county regional economic blocks. That the national government shall support capacity building of county governments in the manufacturing sector to improve manufacturing processes based on best practices. Action, county governments, Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, and development partners. That both levels of government shall work with the private sector to ease the cost of doing business to stimulate economic growth. Action, national government, county governments, and development partners. That both levels of government to ensure that 10 million Kenyans are vaccinated by December 2021 and an additional 30 million by December 2022. Action, national governments, national and county governments, local community leadership, interfaith council, and religious leaders. That both levels of government shall provide an enabling environment for embracing innovation and research as preparedness measure against future disasters resulting from climate change and other causes. Action, national government, county governments, local community leadership. That the national government, in collaboration with the county governments and other stakeholders, shall review the national oceans and fisheries policy of 2008 to conform to the Constitution and devolution. Action, national government, county governments, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, and development partners. That both levels of government shall establish structures, systems, and processes for inclusive urban resilience in the cities, municipalities, and towns through strengthening urban entities to better respond to climate change and other disasters. Action, national government, county governments, development partners, and the private sector. That both levels of government shall in the next budget cycle increase investments in health disaster management through stepping up preventive health, planning and risk reduction in an innovative and integrated approach. Action, national government, county government, the national treasury, development partners, and the private sector. That both levels of government to integrate and mainstream gender-responsive and inclusive climate action policies, legislation, strategies, and actions and initiatives. Action, county governments, county assemblies forum, National Gender and Equality Commission. That both levels of government shall develop and review regulations and standards to provide an enabling environment for investment in renewable energy, including clean cooking and e-mobility for sustainable and affordable utilization of energy. Action, national government, county government, Senate, National Assembly, development partners, and private sector. That the Senate to set up a Senate Climate Action Committee in charge of climate change affairs. Action, Senate. And that all sectors' resolutions shall form part of this community implementation. Implementation of the sector resolutions shall be monitored periodically by devolution stakeholders. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, Senator. Thank you very much, Madam from the County Assemblies Forum. I do want to inform all of you that as a Council of Governors, the Council of Governors will seek a meeting with the Ministry of Devolution so that we can all agree on an institutional framework for the implementation of this community. I thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and be blessed. Thank you.
Okay, let's once again appreciate the Vice Chair. At this point, let me invite our host, His Excellency Professor Kiputa Kibwana, to make his closing remarks. And we all agree that this has been the most successful Devolution Conference, and also the Makueni people welcomed us in a special way, and we want to thank you, Governor, for that. So welcome to make your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, our Chief Whip, Governor Elgeyo Marakwet, and my friend. Let me acknowledge our Minister, Eugene Wamalwa, who has come a second time to be with us. And our Chair, all our my colleagues, governors, Senate, county assemblies, and all the delegates who have really graced this 7th annual and final annual Devolution Conference. Because of time, we are not going to repeat all the protocols as usual, and we will be forgiven for that. As your host, I'm really very happy, and the Deputy Governor, Adelina Mwau, and all our staff and the people of Makueni, we are very happy despite the initial bottlenecks. Ultimately, we were able to host you in Makueni. And I think we had a very beautiful conference where the discussions were really top-notch. I can say this because I've tried to go to as many of the discussions as I could. And I know that we have therefore the capacity, the knowledge to drive the climate change agenda. And as also a former Minister for Environment and as a teacher of law, I appreciate that level of knowledge that is resident in our country. And so, Waziri, I'm persuaded that if this is utilized, it will help us to drive the climate change agenda. One of the final places I went to was the Youth Innovation breakout. And even there, the quality of discussions was so high, and the youth were engaged, and they are really waiting to do what is necessary with the support of the governments. We have actually stayed as the delegates up to the very end, and it is not usual. Sometimes people come to meetings and after the first day, they kind of begin to drift. But because I kept on wanting to notice how the trend was, I'm happy to say that there was really full and robust participation. Despite the postponements, March last year, August this year, and so on, eventually the conference has taken off. And we thank God, for this. Some of our business people did suffer some losses. The county suffered some losses. But we are happy that at the end, we have done well. And I've been sitting sometimes worrying a bit, waiting to hear whether there's been any incident, any episode. But up to now, if there are some, they have not been reported to me, and therefore my assumption is that we have had a good sailing. I think from what we have done in the discussions, we have really focused on how climate change work can be cascaded to the grassroots. And we were told by the Minister for Environment that let us focus on real action, not blah, 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 blah. And although that might have been said in a bit of kind of humorous way, but I think it is still profound. So that as we leave here, like some of the young people are saying, they don't want to be invited to the next meeting and a lot hasn't been done. So please, let us commit, like the resolutions which were read by my very able chair of the steering committee. Let this really be actualized. I want to thank the people of Makueni for being hosts, people of Sekeb, the 3 counties, for being hosts, and to thank the County Assembly of Makueni, County Executive of Makueni. We had also our own steering committee from both sides of the government. And we had good work led by Waziri Wambua and with the support of the DG. So we really thank you. And all those providers, I think we had excellent food. We really want to thank those ones. It's not for me to do the vote of thanks, but just to specially acknowledge just those few people. As I go towards concluding, I think there is something that the youth said, and maybe we need another resolution which is very youth specific, because they said they have all these innovations, they are a big percentage, they can be involved even in afforestation as a social enterprise and green the entire country. So, and Wally told us that nothing for youth before they have a voice. So let us maybe also include a very specific resolution there so that we can give that voice. Because we had one in policy for women, for youth, but we know so youth are both female and male. We have that specific one if it is I'm sure it will be possible. Then I also want to say that if it is possible, let us have a comprehensive book on this conference, apart from the resolutions, all the papers that were given, so that as we do this great thing of being the first subnational endeavor to look at climate change at the grassroots level from Glasgow, we have this report which can be a reference point for our future work. And I'm really very pleased with the FLOCA, the funds coming to the grassroots, and it is our expectation that this really will work. The counties are ready, they are prepared, they have all those things that are required, and we really applaud them. And finally, I had a consultant at home who saw my anxieties and who was telling me that everything will go well, and that is Nazi, the mother of our children. So I want to acknowledge you. She doesn't do many things in the open in the county, but she can be influential. So Waziri, as I conclude, we really thank you. I think somehow in this country, they keep on asking you to do important dockets. You did the Constitution, you did water, and now you are doing defense. Although I'm your former teacher, the highest I got into defense was being an assistant minister, and you are minister. So I really thank God for you, and thank you for gracing us again. And the management committee of the chair, of the vice chair, and of our chief whip, and the secretariat through Mwiti. I really appreciate all the support that you have given the county government of Makueni and the people of Makueni towards this. And all of you, God bless you. Go forth into your counties and do great climate change work with your people.
Another round of applause to our host. If you are treated well, can you clap for our governor? Thank you so much. Before I invite the next speaker, allow me, on behalf of the Council of Governors, to move up a vote of thanks. Our chief guest, all protocols observed, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Council of Governors and the Steering Committee, allow me to sincerely thank His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, the President of the Republic of Kenya, for his participation and contribution during the official opening of the conference. We also thank Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga for gracing the conference. The support accorded in the last 8 years of implementing devolution is deeply appreciated. Sincere and heartfelt gratitude goes to all the participants for their active participation throughout the 3 days of conference. We truly value your support and participation. Ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to thank the conference facilitators and moderators for leading the discussions of the conference seamlessly. On the same breath, we appreciate all the panelists for the informative and significant contribution to this conference. Special recognition also goes to the rapporteurs for capturing the deliberations held in the main plenums and sector breakaway sessions. To all the media houses, we appreciate your work in publicizing and covering the event and keeping Kenyans informed on the progress made in the devolution thus far. We also appreciate the Office of the Inspector General for the provision of round-the-clock security throughout the conference. And you've heard from the host that so far no incident has been reported. So thanks to the Inspector General. We also appreciate Makueni Boys High School for provision of the ground and all the service providers for provision of various services. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference would not have been a success without the support from key partners. I therefore take this opportunity to recognize and appreciate partners and sponsors from the national government, the private sector, civil society, organizations, national government agencies, and development partners. The financial and in-kind support is sincerely appreciated. Special gratitude goes to the steering and planning committees for spearheading the preparations of the 7th and final Devolution Conference 2021. The guidance and direction given during the planning of the conference in the midst of COVID-19 is appreciated. As you are all aware, the conference was to be held last year, but the same was postponed severally due to the ongoing pandemic. However, the steering committee, led by the Council of Governors, remains steadfast and committed in planning the conference, which has been a great success. We recognize the team efforts and congratulate you for a job well done. Last but not least, I extend gratitude to the host governor, His Excellency Professor Kivuta Kibwana, for the warm reception throughout the conference. Asante sana. Finally, this is to assure all the delegates that the Council of Governors will take a lead in spearheading the implementation of the resolutions emanating from this conference. However, this cannot be achieved without the support from the stakeholders present here today. As I conclude, I urge all line ministries, the private sector, civil society organizations, and the development partners to join us in the implementation of the resolutions. God bless you all. Have a safe journey back home. And now allow me to invite the next speaker on behalf of the County Assembly Forum. Let me invite Judy to come and make closing remarks. Welcome, Judy.
The Honorable CS, all protocol observed. I stand here on behalf of the Chair of the County Assemblies Forum, Honorable Ndegwa Wahome, who has been with us since Tuesday, but had to leave this morning to attend to another assignment in Nyandarua. The CS, the County Assemblies Forum has been involved in this process and fully supported the process since the beginning. In fact, since 2019, when the planning began. So CAF has immensely supported this process at the planning, but also at the steering committee levels, just to ensure the success of this 7th and final annual Devolution Conference. So the theme of this conference couldn't have been set at a better time, given the grim realities of our environment and climate change locally and globally. Honorable CS and delegates here, the counties are actually the champions of ensuring full implementation of climate actions and the interventions. And in this regard, the county assemblies play a very critical role in ensuring approval of budgets, the passage of relevant and necessary legislations, approval and also strengthening of the committees mandated and responsible to ensure full implementation of climate actions. From the communique which has just been read, the county assemblies commit to follow up on full implementation of the action points derived from the deliberations of the last 3 days. With that, we want to say thank you, the Council of Governors, I think the Senate, and the Ministry of Devolution for actually coming together to steer this process to the end, right from the planning and to its execution. Long live devolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judy, on behalf of the County Assembly Forum. We all know that senators were present during the opening ceremony. They've been participating with us all through, and they are still with us. And on behalf of the Senate, allow me to invite Senator Dr. Alice Milko to give us the closing remarks on behalf of the Senate. Welcome, Senator.
Thank you very much. I'm standing here to give the closing remarks on behalf of my speaker, the Senate Speaker, Right Honorable Kenneth Lusaka. And before I do that, I wish to declare myself that I'm Senator Dr. Alice Milgo, Chairperson, Standing Committee on Education, Senate. I beg to read the closing remarks by Right Honorable Senator Kenneth M. Lusaka, HGH, MP, the Speaker of the Senate, on the occasion of the 7th Devolution Conference held at Makueni Boys High School, Makueni County, from the 3rd to 26th November 2021. The chief guest, Honorable Eugene Wamalo, HGH Cabinet Secretary for Defense, His Excellency Kabana Madin Wampora, HGH Chairperson, Council of Governors, our host governor, His Excellency Professor Kifuta Kibwana, HGH, the Vice Chairperson of the Council of Governors, His Excellency Governor Chin Songwai, Honorable Ndekwa Ome, Chair CAF, Honorable Governors present, Honorable Senators, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the county assemblies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm pleased once again to join all of you today at the end of the 4 days event which brought all stakeholders in the devolution sector. It is my belief that the deliberations have been useful, enriching, and a learning experience for all of us on the successes and challenges in the implementation of the devolution projects. Climate change was the main focus of this event, and I have noted the issues that were raised on the subject, including calling for the following. A, that climate change is here with us, and although Kenya contributes less than 3% of the global emissions, Kenya is ranked that are the first, most vulnerable country to the effects of climate change. B, that political will is required at both the national and county government levels for the implementation of climate change mitigation policies. C, that in order to cap and mitigate the effects of climate change, better coordination, better strategies, and harmonious implementation mechanisms among stakeholders, particularly in the areas of agriculture, security, environment, health, and finance. D, that Parliament should fast-track the passage of Disaster Management Bill to provide a framework for climate change effects, mitigation and other actions, and consider climate change mitigation during the enactment of the Division of Revenue Act and allocation of revenue to the county governments through CARA. E, that Kenya should champion investment in the alternative energy resource, particularly in the renewable energy sources. F, that there is need to ring-fence funds allocated to health sector at the county level to enable counties respond to emergencies relating to climate change, and this calls for the need to integrate health innovation and all aspects of climate change and disaster management. G, that there is need for county assemblies to exercise greater budget scrutiny and oversight over funds set aside for climate action. That there is need for the private sector and development partners to partner with the national and county governments for better responses to climate change and disaster management. On the main subject of devolution, we all have agreed that devolution has had positive impacts on the lives of Kenyans since its inception in 2013. What needs to be done is putting strategies for sustaining its successes into the future. The recommendations that were canvassed here on the subject of devolution included the following: the need for government actors to respect institutional independence, but collaborate and cooperate with each other when it comes to service delivery. Each level of government should adhere to its constitutional mandate without unnecessarily overstepping its constitutional initiations. That C, the judiciary have been called to play its constitutional role and interpretation of the Constitution fairly and justly when disputes arise. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, this event remains key in the calendar of devolution stakeholders, and it must remain the forum for all of us to provide views and recommendations for making devolution work better. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, allow me to thank all stakeholders that made this event a success. Special mention go to His Excellency, the President, the Deputy President, the former Prime Minister for gracing the event, the county governments, the diplomatic corps, the development partners, the senators, and the people of Makueni for the warm welcome. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Senate remains at your disposal on any actions and legislative measures that may be required to actualize what was agreed on the 7th Devolution Conference. Once again, allow me to reiterate the commitment to continue supporting the Devolution project as a means of improving the lives of Kenyans. I thank and wish you journey masses back to your respective duty stations and homes. God bless you. Right Honorable Senator Kenneth M. Lusaka, EGH, MP, Speaker of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, read on the 26th November 2021. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Senator Alice Milgo. A round of applause once again. Thank you so much, Senator. We all are aware of the fact that COVID is still with us. And during this conference, we must all agree that there's a team that did extremely well in ensuring that COVID protocols were followed to the letter. I don't think that there's anybody who has come to this hall or any other meeting venues without their temperature being checked at the entry points. So allow me to once again recognize and to appreciate the Minister of Health, Makueni County, and also the Minister of Health, National Government. So can we all clap for them? So thank you so much, and I hope that we are all safe, and let's continue observing the COVID protocols, and we hope that COVID will soon end. And I'm happy that also in the communique that was read, the issues of COVID were also well captured. And finally, before we invite our chief guests, allow me now to invite my chair, His Excellency Martin Wambora, to make his closing remarks, and finally invite the chief guest to officially close this conference. Welcome, Chairman.
Good afternoon. Our chief guest, Honorable Eugene Wamarwa, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Defense, my colleague, excellent governors, Cabinet Secretaries, Senators, read by Senator Honorable Dr. Alice Mirigo, Deputy Governors, Members of Parliament, PSs, Ends of Mission, Madam Jude Oduma, the CEO CAF, development partners, other county government representatives and national representatives, private sector and civil society representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks the final day of the 2021 Devolution Conference. Over the last 3 days, we have had very rich deliberations around how both levels of government can mainstream climate action in their policies, programs, and projects. Yesterday, we examined how important early warning systems are in disaster risk management, and we agreed that as a country, it is critical to reduce and respond to disaster in a coordinated manner. Additionally, we agreed that it is urgent that subnational climate financing be given priority, and that revenue allocation process needs to integrate climate change as one of the considerations of the revenue sharing. Distinguished guests, as we wind up this conference, one key message that has been emphasized is that while the global and national climate change actors, such as the UN agencies, European Union, African Union, etc., the national actors and the government, they are national actors, and the governments concentrate on mobilizing funds and drawing legal frameworks and regulations. It will be the responsibility of the subnational government, or what we call county governments, to focus on implementation of climate change action, as read by my brother, the Vice Chair. The multilateral and national actors converged in COP26 in Glasgow, in Scotland, and did their bit, even though they did not agree on quite a number of issues on the way forward. It is this category county governments fall in, of sub-county actors, subnational actors and governments for implementation of what was agreed in Glasgow. The other role is to implement what we have agreed in the now ending 7th annual conference, Devolution Conference. One, enactment of Climate Change Act. In this regard, that the 3 countries have already enacted the Climate Change Act, hence our one priority as Council of Governors and county governments will be to ensure the remaining 14 counties have enacted the same Climate Change Act. 2, on development of climate change policy. 24 counties have developed those policies. Therefore, it will be our task as Council of Governors and individual governors to undertake to ensure the remaining 23 counties develop climate change policies. 3, since 23 counties have completed their climate action plan, the Council of Governors will ensure that the remaining 24 counties complete their respective climate action plan. 4, while acknowledging that 6 counties, which include Kitui, Makueni, Garissa, Isiolo, Vihiga, and Wajir, which have established county climate change funds through their county laws. They have an operational county climate change fund and are contributing a percentage between 1% and 3% of their development budget to the kitty. As a Council of Governors, we undertake to ensure that the remaining 41 counties set a climate change fund kitty from their 2021-2022 budget, which is the current. The fund kitty will enable implementation of climate change acts as well as attract funds from the global, multilateral, and national funders. 5, development of climate information systems. 5 counties, Isiolo, Wajir, Makueni, Garissa, and Kitui have already developed this CIS plan. We resolve to ensure that the remaining 42 counties develop the same important plan. In conclusion, distinguished guests, as I take this opportunity to thank all of you for traveling from far and wide to attend the 7th Annual Development Conference. A special thanks to the delegates who are still seated in the hall. You are the people with a lot of stamina and a sense of duty, because after 4 days you are still strong. Pongezi. Special thanks also from myself to the partners, without whose support this conference would not have been a success. To the steering committee and the planning committee, co-chaired by my vice chairman of the Council of Governors, asanteni sana. May I also take the opportunity to thank the COG staff, led by their CEO, Mary Merritt, for continuously being dedicated tirelessly for the success of this function. Before I invite our chief guest, Waziri Wamarwa, for accepting to grace the closing ceremony today, may I also finally thank our host, Governor, my colleague, Governor Kibwana, and his very dedicated First Lady for, I've not seen anything like this, 2 partners with us for 4 days without tiring. Asante sana. You deserve those coffees. And of course, before I invite the chief guest, may I also thank you, Waziri, for graciously accepting at the last minute to grace this function. You are a true friend in need, and we thank you most heartedly. With those comments, may I now ask you to be upstanding as I invite the hardworking Waziri, Minister of Defense, and formerly very able Minister for Devolution to address us moja kwa moja. Asante. Waziri, karibu.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Governor Martin Wambora, the Chair, COG, Excellencies, Governors, President, Deputy Governors, and allow me to adopt all protocols as my previous speakers have done. And to start, first of all, by thanking very much our gracious host, Mwalimu wangu, His Excellency, Governor Professor Kivutha Kibwana, and the First Lady, Nazi. Thank you very much for hosting us. And also to thank your very able Deputy Governor, my good friend Adelina Mwau, as well as the Senator Makueni, all the leadership of this great county of Makueni for hosting us and for being very patient, because we started this journey last year with you. I remember we were set to come to Makueni in May last year. Then in March, the first case of COVID-19 was announced by my good friend Mutahi Kagwe. And it's then that we heard from Kagwe that if you treat this disease normally, it will treat you abnormally. That caused us to actually postpone this conference from May. Again this year, earlier this year, we're coming here for this conference, but there was an upside, and we were yet again forced to postpone it. Professor, we know that you lost quite a bit, and I want to thank the Chair COG, the CEO, and the teams that we worked with my co-chair, His Excellency Governor Ongwai. You put in many hours of hard work, and we had to do quite a bit in preparing this, but also ensuring that this conference goes on. I congratulate you and thank you for your patience, for your resilience, and all the service providers, because we know that everything was set before we called these off. So mine today, I know that you're all very tired. You've been here for 3 days. A lot has been said about climate change. A lot has been said about devolution. My colleague, CS Tobiko, was here, who is an expert in environmental matters. So I will not belabor the climate change issues that have already been discussed by previous speakers. On devolution, our president spoke about devolution, where we've come from, the journey, the opportunities, the achievements, the challenges. And my colleague, CS Keter, the CS devolution, has spoken much about it, and so have all the governors. So I'm not here to take you through that again. And I'm not here with a very long speech. The other day I was here and I saw Governor Wambora go through a very long speech, Governor. It wasn't an easy task. So today I'm just here to do a very simple act of officially closing this wonderful conference, but to also thank the conveners for choosing climate change, climate action, and the need of partnership by all levels of government to confront these existential threats that we face as a nation, as a people, and as a generation. We couldn't have picked a better time to discuss this because of what our country has gone through. As we speak, half of our country, the eastern part, is really stressed because of the ongoing drought. Yet when you go to the western part, ukienda kwa Oparanya kunanyesha huko almost every day. There's plenty of food. And we have, apart from drought, we've had floods in this country. We also had a desert locust invasion. And we also are confronted by COVID-19. I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is a very resilient nation. But never in our history has our resilience been tested to this extent. And that is why we need to come together and put our heads together to talk about this. The resolutions have been read by Governor Ongwai, and I think we all know what part we need to play. On behalf of national government, I want to assure you that all the resolutions, recommendations for action by national government, we will undertake to ensure that we implement and we work together with you. We'll also urge the other players, and particularly both houses of parliament, our county assemblies, to do their part. I've looked at the resolutions and I can see very good recommendations that will need legislative action. And we will also be looking at how to fast track some pending legislation. So honorable senators, honorable members of parliament and county assemblies, our speakers who are here, we still have work to do. We are happy that a lot has already been done, but we still have urge Governor Ongwai that if also that could be included, so that we see how that can be fast-tracked and we get the necessary institutional and legislative framework in place to deal with these disasters that as a country we have been confronted back to back in the last 2 years. So I don't want to say much. I know that I was invited at very short notice just yesterday by Governor Wambora, and he told me unahitajika Makueni mara moja. Then I told the governor, nimekuwa Makueni. He said, no, we want you back. So I said, I didn't know the governor, as my good friend, had missed me that much. But I can tell you, I had also missed you, lakini sio sana. Sababu, where I am now, I'm more peaceful, I can tell you. You know, dealing with these governors is not easy. I remember there was a time I was with my friend Governor Paranya when he was chair. So we're with him having a very nice conversation. The next day I see him on TV threatening to shut down counties unless money was released immediately. Sasa hiyo headache nimeachia CS Keter apambane na hiyo. Kule niko sasa hawana mambo mengi, the generals ni watu wa order. Wanasema sir, we will be giving you a briefing on the security situation in Somalia at 800 hours. So then I asked my friend, they've given me a military assistant, it's called Major Mosol. So I asked him, 800 hours ndio saa ngapi? Then Mosol tells me, no, sir, they meant 800 hours. And that means 8 o'clock. So I told him, so uniambie tu saa mbili waziri kuwa hapa. Lakini hivyo ndio wanaongea in their military language. And I can tell you today we have a few minutes. I want to be very brief so that we can close at 1300 hours. Ili tuende tukule lunch. Mimi naona Gavana Ojamonga na changanyikiwa kidogo. 1300 hours ni saa 7 bana. Tuende tukule. So mine is just to say thank you. Na sababu nimezoea mambo ya salute. I just want to give 5 salutes, then I will close. The first salute goes to His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. When history is written, historians will have a very difficult time to say which is the greatest legacy of our president. Will it be the SGR, the many kilometers of rail that have been built for the first time since the 100 years since the Indian coolies were here? We had never added a kilometer of rail since then. Will that be his greatest legacy? Will it be the new ports, the port in Lamu, the port in Kisumu, the expanded port in Mombasa? Or will it be the 100% transition in education? In fact, it will be very difficult, but for me, I have said this before, and I want to say this again here in Makueni, that the greatest legacy of this president is going to be devolution. It is during his time that devolution was born, and during his time that devolution has been nurtured. When you talk to scientists, they tell you the formative years of a child start from year 1 up to year 8. Those are the most critical years of a child's life because that is when the child really becomes who he will be or she will be the rest of their lives. And that also applies to devolution. And we must say thank you to the president for the leadership, and indeed he has earned the title of the father of devolution because he was there and have overseen devolution born and nurtured. I also wish to salute, the second salute goes to the former President Mwai Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila Odinga. These are the leaders. Many people might forget 50 years to come that this country, faced with a choice of whether we should have devolution or not, 7 million Kenyans, led by President Mwai Kibaki and Prime Minister Raila Odinga, said, yes, we want devolution. We want this new constitution. And that is how we have had devolution in this country. We must remember that and salute them for that. The third salute goes to the founding governors, the pioneer governors. And I can tell you, as the former Minister for Devolution, I've been to all these counties. I've walked the length and breadth of this great nation, and I have seen what these governors have done. 10 years of their leadership with President Uhuru has laid a foundation for devolution, for the next crop of governors, next generation of leaders. But we cannot forget them because they laid the foundation in their counties and in this country. We must salute you, and they have done a great job right from the north, my good friend Governor Nanok, Governor Ali Roba, down to the coast, Governor Joho, Kingi, Mvuria, all the way to Nyanza, Governor Ongwai, and Rasanga. To the west, we have Governor Jamong and Governor Oparanya, to Rift Valley from Tolgos to Mandagoy, all the way to Nai. They have done a great job. To Mount Kenya, our own chairman and all those who have worked with him. You have done a great job, and we must salute you for that. We must also thank the new governors who are serving their first term and who are facing an election. We wish you well. We don't know who is going to be elected, re-elected, and who will go home, but we wish you well. We have worked together very well, and we hope the people of your great counties will give you an opportunity to serve again. We look forward to continued partnership between the national and the county governments. We also thank the chairs of COG. We know that when this journey started, from Isaac Ruto, the first chair of COG, it was a very difficult relationship between the national and the county governments. All the way to my brother, Peter Munya, we had a very tough relationship. But when it came to Governor Nanok, when I took over this ministry, we actually changed the way we work as national and county government. We realized national government is not here to compete with the county government, but to complement. We are serving the same people. There are no people who belong to the national government and Kenyans who belong to the county government. We all serve the same Kenyans. And I must thank Governor Nanok for laying the foundation for improved intergovernmental relations. That also was enhanced during the chairmanship of Governor Oparanya, and he's here with us. Governor Oparanya, we thank you for the good work you did. That has greatly been enhanced during the time of the current Governor Wambora. Governor, we really thank you for your leadership, and we are here to also salute you and your new team. Lastly, we want to also salute our legislators, as I have said, and particularly salute those counties, 33 counties that have already passed the Climate Change Act. We must salute you, speakers who are here, and my own speaker, Wirunga, is here. You've done a good job. I'm happy my county was not left behind. In fact, this county of Makueni was amongst the first counties. Professor, we must salute you for the good work that you did. We also must salute the 24 counties that have passed the climate change policies. We must salute the 23 counties that have passed the climate action plans. And we must particularly salute the 7 counties that have already set up the climate change funds and urge others to do the same so that we can take advantage of FLOCA and deal with these and mainstream actually climate change in our policies and programs. Lastly, we also want to thank the rapporteurs and those who have actually come up with these resolutions. I have seen one of the resolutions that is very, very important. My brother C.S. Tobiko spoke to it. To the political class, we have done a lot in the last 10 years. In fact, Kenya led Africa in passing the first climate change law in 2016. We were amongst the first on the African continent. We have passed a climate action plan. We are again amongst the first nations on the continent of Africa to do that. We want to see going forward the next leadership that will take over, the next president, the next governors, to see how they can mainstream climate change matters. And our brother C.S. Tobiko challenged you. I wish to also challenge you that we do the same. But as a former Minister for Devolution, I want to also leave a challenge to you that devolution holds the key to a more equal Kenya. to a more equitable Kenya, to a more inclusive Kenya, to a more prosperous Kenya. If you strengthen devolution, every Kenyan is a winner. We want to leave it to those who are coming to take over from this generation of governors and from the founding president of devolution to see how they are going to strengthen devolution. And even as we are talking about the next election, we know around election time, people come up with very beautiful manifestos. They come up with very beautiful economic theories. I've heard about the bottom-up theory. I've heard about the uchumi mashinani theory. But the greatest policy we have passed as a country is the devolution policy. That is the real bottom-up. That is the real uchumi mashinani. So we would like to hold our candidates, even as we hold them accountable on matters climate change, let us interrogate these candidates on matters devolution, and let us ask ourselves, after the founding president of devolution, our next president, who is it that we can trust, who believes in devolution, who can strengthen devolution, who can ensure that we move from the current 370 billion to 570 billion in the next term. I know the governor is asking for 700 billion, but it is realistic that we can move from 370 to 570. It is doable. It can be done. This is the conversation we want to have to see how we can send more resources to our counties, how we can set up ward funds and send money to every one of our 1,450 wards. That is the direction we should be taking even as we end this Devolution Conference. It is the last annual Devolution Conference, but let us see how we can carry on this conversation even without BBI. We know that it can be done. Now, we want to challenge our leaders to do that. So let me end by urging you also on the issues of COVID-19. My brother CS Mutai Kagwe is still in South Africa, but Chairman, when he received this invitation, he asked me to ask the governors that COVID-19 is still here with us. Never again would we want to close our economy. Never again should we have curfew coming back. But if you look at Europe today, I was with the ambassador for Germany yesterday, and she was telling me how bad the situation is in Europe. Their hospitals are filling again, their ICU beds, and in one of the countries, they have gone into total lockdown. That wave can come back here if we do not, or if we take our eyes off the ball. So even as we go home, back to our counties, you, the governors and the leaders gathered here today, please be champions in dealing with this COVID-19 challenge. And that is something that the Ministry of Health has said. They are going to enhance vaccinations. By December, 10 million Kenyans should be vaccinated. In the next 1 year, by December 2022, we should have over 30 more million Kenyans vaccinated. So can we see how to champion these vaccinations in our counties to ensure that we contain this disease? Lastly, we also want to acknowledge that going into an election, we have had pre-election violence, we have had violent elections before, and we have a painful history of post-election violence in our country. 2007, 2008 must never happen again. You, ladies and gentlemen, leaders gathered here today, leaving Makueni, you can also be the champions for peace to say that, yes, we have an election coming, but 9th of August 2022 is just another day in our calendar. After that day, Kenya will still be here. It should not be a zero-sum game where Kenyans kill each other, but from the leaders gathered here, if we went to every county and preached peace and made our politics competition about policies, not tribes, not this clan or that clan fighting another, we can still have a country after the 9th of August 2022. So let me end by thanking you all for being here and also participating actively in this very, very important conference. And may I have the pleasure to declare the 7th Devolution Conference officially closed.
Thank you so much, our chief guest. And before you take your seat, allow me to invite our chair to present a gift to our chief guest. And like you've said, this is your second time this week being in Makueni. And being our former devolution minister, we want you to continue working with the devolution family. And today we are honored to present you a gift which is specifically made from Makueni. And we want to appreciate Makueni people. I think all the gifts that have been presented to our guests are made here locally. So we thank all of Makueni people. Thank you so much, our chief guest. You may be seated. So as we conclude this meeting, we now want to go to the last session where I would want to invite the Deputy Governor from Makueni, Her Excellency Adelina Mwao, to come and close with a word of prayer. And before that, as she comes to the podium, let me also recognize the governors present. Maybe the governors who are there, just wave to the chief guest. Thank you so much. Deputy governors, thank you. Members of County Assembly and speakers, asanteni sana. So, karibu sana, Your Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Makueni County. You pray for us, for the food and the journey mercies as we leave to our various destinations. And thereafter, the national anthem will be played, and it will mark the end of our Devolution Conference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. To our chief guest today, to all the governors that have been with us when we started, to all the delegates. For us, we feel blessed that it finally happened. So we want to thank you. And my prayer will be thanksgiving for having had a successful annual and final devolution conference. So let's pray. Thank you, God, for blessing us. Thank you, God, for all what you've been able to do in the counties, the blessings of our 2010 Constitution, because it has been a gift to the people of Kenya. And we pray that we continue having this blessing and continue having leadership that will take this blessing to the people of Kenya, so that Kenya in the next decade becomes a developed country. We know the climate change is here. We pray that all what we have discussed in this conference becomes a reality. And I pray that we put efforts in all our counties to actually make sure that we educate our people that climate change is here and need to come up with climate strategies that will help us grow this country to the next level. Thank you, God. I pray, believing in Jesus Christ, our Lord, and for the food that we are going to eat, let it be